bringing the change in the lives of common people with Kartavya, shattering the darkness of illiteracy with Sakshar, empowering youth and women through employment and entrepreneurship with Kaushal Sambal, grooming the arts and sports talents with Lakshya, promoting social innovations with Mashal, conserving the environment with Sankalp, ensuring community participation in rural development with Sarvodaya, and giving identity to the migrant laborers with I Empower, with the belief of the global family or Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, and Mata Bhumi Putro Aham Prathivya means this earth is my mother and I am its son. This is the dream of Shri Basant Bansal. M3M Foundation, constructing lives, building nation.
In 1868, the Tata Group was founded on a philosophy that put the community at the heart of its existence. Today, we are a $100 billion global enterprise. Our today has been built on enduring values. Our today is about delivering excellence across business sectors. Our today is about building a future-ready nation. Our today has a strong foundation with community at its core. Our today is dedicated to the communities we serve. Our today is always about more than just today. Our today is a continuous journey for a better tomorrow. leadership with trust.
When you say faster, I just want to see how fast.
Very exciting day. Let the games begin. So we bring to you Airtel 5G Plus.
नेक्स्ट लेवल है, मतलब अब तो मेरी वीडियो फटाक से एकदम से अपलोड हो जाएगी।
मुझे लेटेंसी की अहमियत पता है, मैं उसके लिए ज़्यादा एक्साइटेड हूँ।
The technology we have chosen is the one which is widely used in the world. Every 5G phone will follow.
सिम चेंज करने का कुछ जरूरत नहीं था मुझे, नेटवर्क चेंज किया जाके एंड 5G enabled.
And 5G plus is environment friendly. I think that is very important. क्या मस्त स्पीड है रे?
It's revolution.
Magic.
Once you use this, you can't go back.
Effective supply chain management gives power to fulfill what your customers need, when and where they need it. How will you ensure that your supply chain is reliable, flexible, innovative, and always strives for excellence?
Since the past 2 decades, TVS SCS has been the trusted name in the supply chain industry.
The legacy of TVS brand is more than 100 years old.
We are trusted for the value that we have created.
Our global presence with unmatched supply chain network pan-India, warehousing space of more than 19 million square feet, transportation network across 29 states, and a strong team of more than 10,000 professionals stand together to serve our esteemed customers.
We are trusted for the service that we provide.
Our end-to-end differentiated service portfolio is fitted as per customers' demands. We are partners in customers' journey.
We are trusted for the innovation that we can offer.
Strong technology backbone, integrated digital workflows, automated dashboards, visibility through control tower operation. We are just the way you want us, equipped with all the tools to make your supply chain resilient and agile.
We believe in the power of us.
When we partner with you, we are committed to offer you quality solutions. Together, we strive to achieve newer heights. Together, we stand united to write new success stories.
In 1868, the Tata Group was founded on a philosophy that put the community at the heart of its existence. Today, we are $100 billion global enterprise. Our today has been built on enduring values. Our today is about delivering excellence across business sectors. Our today is about building a future-ready nation. Our today has a strong foundation with community at its core. Our today is dedicated to the communities we serve. is always about more than just today. Our today is a continuous journey for a better tomorrow. Tata, leadership with trust.
When you say faster, I just want to see how fast.
Very exciting day. Let the games begin. So we bring to you Airtel 5G Plus.
नेक्स्ट लेवल है, मतलब अब तो मेरी वीडियो फटाक से एकदम से अपलोड हो जाएगी। तो मुझे लेटेंसी की अहमियत पता है, मैं उसके लिए ज़्यादा एक्साइटेड।
The technology we have chosen is the one which is widely used in the world. Every 5G phone will work on.
सिम चेंज करने का कुछ जरूरत नहीं था मुझे, नेटवर्क चेंज किया जाके एंड 5G enabled.
Airtel 5G Plus is environment friendly. I think that is very important. क्या मस्त फील्डर है?
It's revolution.
Magic.
Once you use it, you can't go back.
Effective supply chain management gives power to fulfill what your customers need, when and where they need it. How will you ensure that your supply chain is reliable, flexible, innovative, and always strives for excellence?
Since the past 2 decades, TVS SCS has been the trusted name in the supply chain industry.
The legacy of TVS brand is more than 100 years old.
We are trusted for the value that we have created.
Our global presence with unmatched supply chain network pan-India, warehousing space of more than 19 million square feet, transportation network across 29 states, and a strong team of more than 10,000 professionals stand together to serve our esteemed customers.
We are trusted for the service that we provide.
Our end-to-end differentiated service portfolio is fitted as per customers' demands. We are partners in customers' journey.
We are trusted for the innovation that we can offer.
Strong technology backbone, integrated digital workflows, automated dashboards, visibility through control tower operation. We are just the way you want us, equipped with all the tools to make your supply chain resilient and agile.
We believe in the power of us.
When we partner with you, we are committed to offer you quality solutions. Together, we strive to achieve newer heights. Together, we stand united to write new success stories.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the inaugural session of the CII Partnership Summit 2023. We're ready to start with the session, but I'd like to request all those standing to please find some place and settle down. Sit down before we bring in our dignitaries for the session. Requesting all of you to please find a seat and settle down. Both sides, one
दोनों बोले नहीं मिनिस्टर के लिए ना मिनिस्टर के लिए उधर रखी हुई है टेबल रखवा रहा हूँ वहाँ पे पानी रखवा रहा हूँ
पानी वो कह रहे थे ग्लास यहाँ पे होना चाहिए
टेबल जैसे उनकी रखते वैसे ही रखवा दी हाँ वो अरे तो यहाँ पे टेबल रखवा तो रहा हूँ
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please join me in welcoming all our esteemed guests for this session. Can we hear it nice and loud? May I request all of you to please settle down? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very, very warm welcome to each one of you to the CII Partnership Summit 2023 being held today. This is the inaugural session, and we have all our esteemed guests here for this. To begin with this session, I'd like to invite Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General, Confederation of Indian Industry, to give his welcome remarks and take the session forward.
A very, very good evening and a warm welcome to all our very esteemed participants to the 28th edition of the Partnership Summit. And this is indeed a very, very special Partnership Summit coming under the backdrop of the presidency of India's G20. And many of you are associated with the process of B20. Excellencies, today is a time of hope. Partnerships with the world stands at the core of our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji's vision under the rubrics of One Earth, One Family, One Future, and Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or the world is one family, which represent India's ancient wisdom. And India's G20 presidency is guided by the principles of unity and partnership. And this is also being very strongly carried through India and to the world by the chairman of this year's Partnership Summit, the Honorable Shri Piyush Goyal, the Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry, Textiles, Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. Honorable Minister, your leadership and the chairing of the Partnership Summit always has been bringing in different dimensions year on year for the last few years that you have been chairing this. Your warmth, your friendship, your connect brings in this huge participation as you see in this hall. And as you lead India's economic engagement with the world, and we can only admire what we have achieved in the last few years, Honorable Minister. You have taken many, many major initiatives as Commerce and Industry Minister, and your relentless focus on ease of doing business has translated into impactful results on the ground for investors. And in addition, the speed at which you have finalized negotiations in the last few months with our new FTAs with certain countries, some of them are present here, both of them are present here, has been unprecedented. Mr. Minister, we'd like to welcome you to your summit, of which you are the chairman. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Piyush Goyal, the chairman of the Partnership Summit. We have a galaxy of ministers on the table, as you see here, and I'll go alphabetical country-wise. And first, really welcome each one of them. Welcome to His Excellency Lempo Loknath Sharma, the Honorable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, Industry and Commerce, Employment of the Royal Government of Bhutan. Great to see you once again, Honorable Minister, on a CII platform. You have always been present. You have had several interactions with the Indian industry. It's always lovely to go to your country, and you are no stranger to the Partnership Summit. Welcome, Honorable Minister. His Excellency, Mr. Rodrigo Diaz, the Minister for Foreign Trade and Foreign Investment of the Republic of Cuba. We really look forward to strengthening our economic engagement with Cuba in partnership with you, Honorable Minister. His Excellency, Dr. Zulkifli Hasan, the Minister of Trade, Republic of Indonesia. Excellency, you have greatly supported the Indian industry CII when we were in Indonesia for the G20 B20, and we took over the B20 baton from also your country's institutions, and it's been a great learning for us as we've worked very closely during your presidency of the G20. His Excellency Sudesh Satkam Kalicharan, the Minister of Labour, Human Resource Development and Training, Minister of Commerce and Consumer Protection of Mauritius. Always great to visit your country, Honorable Minister, and indeed you are a close friend of the Indian industry and of course of India, and your presence in person for this edition is indeed appreciated. His Excellency Minister Gam Kim Yong, the Minister of Trade and Industry, Republic of Singapore. Welcome, Honorable Minister. It was a fantastic meeting that we had just on Saturday. For hours, we discussed many opportunities for Singapore and Indian industry to work on. A great friend again to have on the CII platform. His Excellency Mr. Abdullah bin Tok Al-Almari, the Minister for Economy, United Arab Emirates. Excellency, your leadership of India-UAE business engagement in transforming economic bilateral ties are extremely profound, and we are honored to have you once again at the CII platform and once again back in India. So many times have we seen you with our minister when you did that Godspeed FTA, and it was really of great, it's been a great engagement with the UAE ever since. We also have on the screen the Honorable Mary Yang, the Minister of International Trade, Export Promotion, Small Business and Economic Development of Canada. Honorable Minister, we know that we didn't let you go in spite of you saying that your visit has come up to the UK from Canada. You are in UK, and this is your second consecutive term that you are participating in the Partnership Summit, but to get you from the UK to be on when you are on a hectic trip, really appreciated. Thank you, Honorable Minister. We'll be also soon joined by His Excellency Mr. Dukyo Gong Tang, the Minister for Trade of Republic of Korea, very shortly. His Excellency Mr. Sultan Ahmed bin Sulaim, the Group Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the DP World of the United Arab Emirates. You bring in, Your Excellency, a great global industry perspective, and we are great to have you with us. With that is from the Indian industry, we have the President of the CII and the Co-Chairman of the Summit, Mr. Sanjeev Bajaj. Ministers, Excellencies, Ambassadors, High Commissioners, distinguished leaders from all across the world and the country. Ladies and gentlemen, 17 ministers from India and abroad, 35 sessions over 3 days, special country sessions, near 150 speakers from 24 countries with 65 foreign speakers, more than 2,000 plus delegates with almost 400 plus coming from 67 countries, presence of each and every of the G20 countries. This, Excellencies, is briefly our summit this year. The Partnership Summit comes this year in a physical format after a gap of 3 years and is closely aligned to India's G20 presidency. And as the Secretariat for the B20, we are indeed privileged to carry forward the main theme of the B20 that was selected in consultation with our Honorable Minister, Mr. Piyush Goyal over here, which is called RAISE, and which turns into responsible, accelerated, inclusive, sustainable, and equitable business. And this year, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the summit covers 10 tracks which are aligned again to India's priorities. One, inclusive global value chains for resilient global trade and investment. Second, financing global economic recovery. Third, of course, the G20. Fourth, future of work, skilling, and mobility. Fifth, energy, climate change, and resource efficiency. Sixth, the financial inclusion. Seven, digital transformation. Eight, technology, innovation, and R&D. Nine, very importantly, ESG in business, environment, social, and governance. And 10th, African economic integration. This will all be deliberated over the next 3 days, and this inaugural session will throw light, I'm sure, on all these very important 10 points. And with that, once again, I'd like to welcome each one of you, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, to this 28th Partnership Summit. A warm welcome and thank you very much. I'd now invite and request Mr. Sanjeev Bajaj, the co-chairman of the Partnership Summit 23 and the president of CII, to make his remarks.
Shri Piyush Goyal, our Honorable Minister and Chairman of the Partnership Summit, Excellencies, the ministers from Bhutan, Canada, Cuba, Indonesia, Republic of Korea, Mauritius, Singapore, and the UAE, His Excellency, the Group Chairman and CEO of DP World, Mr. Banerjee, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. This is indeed a very special moment for Indian industry, as we have an unparalleled opportunity to interact with so many senior thought leaders from across the world. It is my firm belief that industry has a critical role to play in finding and implementing solutions, and it is in this spirit that this edition of the Partnership Summit is closely aligned with the B20 agenda. Keeping this in mind, we have devised a very special program over the next few days, and I believe together we must drive an agenda towards actions that are specific, that are monitorable, and that are impactful. It is these actions which will bring together policymakers, entrepreneurs, civil society, and academia for joint efforts for addressing multiple global challenges. Today, in economic terms, we are increasingly seeing a multipolar world. Yet, we need to confront many common crises that are impacting our growth. Multilateralism is in flux, and global institutions are functioning below expected levels. The development journeys of many countries depends on a stable and peaceful global political environment, free and open trade, and conducive business ecosystems, and policies that will foster inclusion. It is in this context that India has much to offer the world as a large, a resilient, and a rapidly growing developing economy. And that's where our theme for B20 comes about of RAISE, which Chandraji just managed. Let me talk about a few of these initiatives. The first is around innovation, which we think is central to our economy. For example, our digital public infrastructure that runs on the India digital stack, and many of you would have heard of Aadhaar and UPI, is of huge scale and has reached the majority of our citizens. This has facilitated multiple applications from direct benefit transfers to the poor, areas of payments and fintech, healthcare and education. And as India, we are keen to share these experiences with the rest of the world. Second, a combination of 750 million smartphone users, one of the lowest cost data networks in the world, coupled with 1.2 billion bank accounts and over 800 million unique digital IDs, has created a whole new digital opportunity, which once again we can share with other countries. Third, with facilitative policies taking place, India is now the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, with over 100 unicorns and almost 100,000 registered startups. We believe that this entire culture on startups is one that drives entrepreneurism. It drives the basics of any society and economy. 4, on sustainable development, we have emerged as the world's 4th largest wind and solar energy installed capacity, and a leader not only in climate action commitment, but also in achievement. Excellencies, as part of a developing economy, Indian industry understands the compulsions of inclusive growth. Today, we aim to expand and deepen our overseas engagement and learn as much from the world as we want to share with the world. I would also like to mention a few global priorities in this regard. First, as already mentioned, the multilateral trading system is facing many challenges, and strengthening these international institutions and enhancing both their transparency and their accountability is critical for improving their effectiveness. Second, as climate change has adverse implications on financial stability and macroeconomics, accelerating the green transition, but in a just and fair manner, should be of utmost priority. And global financial systems need to start thinking of how they will use green financing to support these initiatives. Third, the global collaboration on developing transformative, cost-effective deployment of technology is essential to drive financial inclusion. And fourth, for an inclusive growth process, it is imperative that we include our micro, small, and medium enterprises in their ability to access finance and adapt to new technologies. There is equally a need to enhance the participation of women and upgrade skill development, where by a particular metric, by 2030, more than 1 billion people will need new skills. In all these efforts and initiatives, business will be key players. And it is for this reason that our theme RAISE resonates with current issues confronting the world today and inspires us as businesses to be a part of the solution. Over the next two days, we are keen to partner with international governments, businesses, and experts to drive a new agenda for business, an agenda that encourages business to be responsible, accelerated, innovative, sustainable, and equitable. I welcome you to this CII Partnership Summit and thank you for your participation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sanjeev. That was the Indian industry perspective, and we'll now have a global industry perspective from His Excellency Mr. Sultan Ahmed bin Sulaim, the Group Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the DP World, United Arab Emirates.
His Excellency Mr. Piyush Goyal, Minister of Commerce and Industry and Textiles, Consumer Affairs, Food, Public Distribution, and Minister His Excellency Abdullah bin Tawq, Minister of Economy UAE, and Honorable President of CII. I'm truly honored and happy to be invited for this important event among business and economic leaders and ministers of the world. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, this is a unique opportunity, Your Excellency, to discuss strategic partnership between our nations. The CPA agreement that we signed is very important. We can discuss how we can even take advantage of it. We can leverage on it. In UAE, Your Excellency, we see a lot of growth. Already business between UAE and India have increased. According to International Monetary Fund, India contributes 15% to the global economy. India has the fastest growth rate among major economies. And for the year alone, India, our second largest trade partner. We believe that the economic fundamentals of India are very strong. We believe that India has amazing growth and even more growth. That's why UAE invested $15.3 billion between 2020 and 2022. And this will increase thanks to the country's commitment toward reducing trade barriers, enabling market access for Indian manufacturers. And today, the world is talking about nearshoring. The pandemic, Your Excellency, have taught us that manufacturers need to bring their product fast and faster. And the only way to do that is to have manufacturing where the consumers are. So this is something that people talked about 2016, it's happening. An evidence of that, for example, for India, is Apple moving their mobile phone to be manufactured in India. We celebrated the first year of the CIPA agreement. It's critical for us to reduce barriers, and this should be an example for many economies to see the benefit we have after the CIPA agreement. Reducing tariff, enhancing market access, and reducing foreign investment risk, and market easier for business and investor to trade internationally. This agreement aims to grow the total merchandise trade value between both countries to 100 billion in 2027. It's an ambitious commitment, but that's doable. It's already started, and we see already the growth, and we can see the way ahead. Since the partnership agreement began in May last year, in the bilateral trade with UAE has multiplied, with non-oil trade and increased by 14%. And of course, trading for India has grown beyond that also. And then if we talk about India and Africa, we have a combined population of 2.5 billion, but together handle only 50 million containers every year. If we look at the United States, it has a population of 1/5 of this size, but 77 million containers every year. This shows the scale, Your Excellency, and the opportunity for India and Africa to grow. And we at DP World, we are proud to say we are the biggest in our spread in Africa. We are all over Africa, from Central Africa, North Africa, East Africa, and South Africa. All our investments are in private-public partnership to create infrastructure that support regional and international trade. For example, in India, we have been involved with Nava Shiva International Container Terminal since '97. And it led to many more investment and concession across India. This includes Tuna Tekra Mega Container Terminal in Gujarat, which we announced last month. To increase our investment portfolio across the logistics sector, we have also launched a joint investment platform with NII Fund. We have invested 1.4 billion so far in India, and will continue to invest to make, to make even more investment in India. And if you look at the fund that we're going to do for the infrastructure, we're going to invest with NIF $3 billion in the infrastructure, supporting India's supply chain, improving roads that today are not strong enough to carry the containers. It will also modernize railways to reduce delivery times and transform digital infrastructure to improve transparency. By meeting physical and digital infrastructure needs, we reduce transport costs and build efficient and sustainable transport network. As India rolls out initiatives like Gati Shakti program or Unified Logistic Interface Platform, we are proud to play our role. As a result, I'm pleased to share that DP World is now serving 28% of India EXIM container market. From ports and inland terminals to rail, freight, cold chain, India is and will continue to be priority market for DP World. Through shipping and inland logistic capabilities, we will connect India to South Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. Across the world, more needs to be done to unlock potential emerging markets opportunities and to ensure equitable economic opportunities. And we can work with government on eliminating barriers to trade and risk for investment. I'm confident that India presidency of the G20 will play a pivotal role in transforming international trade. Events like this, Your Excellency, are invaluable to achieving this ambition. We in DP World, for statistics, we handled in 2021 75 million containers. That is like a value of $3.6 trillion, 11% world trade. That's like $400,000 every hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 65 days a year. So we are playing a major role in world economy, and we are very proud to be with you in India. And I want to thank you graciously for hosting us to make this event possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you for your remarks, and thank you for really talking about your engagement and interest in India. With that, I'll turn to our ministerial presence over here, and may I first request His Excellency, the Honorable Mary Yang, the Minister for International Trade, Export Promotion, Small Businesses and Economic Development of Canada, who has joined us from the UK. Honorable Minister.
Hello there, everyone. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Terrific. Namaste. Hello, one and all. Let me begin by thanking you, Director General Banerjee, for that warm introduction. I'm so pleased to be able to be here as part of the CII Partner Summit. This is indeed a big year. India is hosting the G20, and I want to congratulate India on your leadership and wish you a very successful host year. A couple of my colleagues, ministerial colleagues, have already been there to India, and I'm certainly looking forward to being there. I wish I was actually there in person today and to see my good friend Piyush, but we know that that will happen in very, very soon. It is actually almost a year ago that Minister Goyal and I set out to build even stronger trade and investment bridges between Canada and India. And when I look around that room virtually, because I can see the room from where I am, your summit through CCI and your leadership is really giving us an opportunity to continue this great partnership work. I think one of the speakers spoke a little early, very eloquently. The world indeed has changed over the last few years. There has been a shift in geopolitical dynamics. And in parallel to that shift, there's been significant changes in relationships between nations. And more than ever, it's essential that we deepen relationships with like-minded partners who value rules-based trade that is inclusive, sustainable, and mutually beneficial. Partners like India, partners like Canada. And with that in mind, I do want to congratulate Minister Goyal for you and your leadership and of course, convening such a strong group of trade colleagues who are here from around the world. I want to say a very special hello to each of you. I wish I was there. Hello, Minister Hassan from Indonesia, Minister Sharma from Bhutan, Minister Gan from Singapore, Minister Diaz from Cuba, of course, Your Excellency Amara from the UAE, Minister An, who I know will join you from Korea, Minister Kalichurn from Mauritius. Hello, my good friends. It's terrific to share this stage with you, even though I am virtual. And it is also great to be on stage with President Banjaj of the CII. And it's, of course, always nice to see you again, Mr. Chairman from DP World. Wonderful to see you. We're all doing wonderful work together with India to drive that economic growth and resilience that businesses, workers, and communities around the world need in the wake of the pandemic. Indeed, I think it's clear that partnerships between governments and with industry will continue to drive national economic prosperity and in turn, global economic prosperity. Look no further to the CII, our hosts at the summit. For nearly 130 years, we've been the respected voices for business, and you are the B20 Secretariat for India's G20 Presidency this year. And when I was in India earlier in the year, I was very grateful that Minister Goyal was able to convene a wonderful forum where I was able to spend some time with the CII members and really just showcasing the economic potential that the world has through, I think, our collective leadership. And it's no wonder that the motto this year for the summit is just so apt. Competitiveness, growth, sustainability, internationalization. And when I think about India's phenomenal growth and potential, their country is expected to be the world's fastest growing economy this year. I think more, and this is very apt because DP World is there on the stage, but I think more than the cargo container ships that sail from Mumbai to Chennai to Calcutta. But I also think about, apologies, my screen just shifted here for just one moment. I think about the lotus, India's national flower. Now you might think it's unusual to make a comparison like the one I've just made between container ships and the lotus flower. But the lotus is an apt symbol for where India is right now and where you are about to go. Because a lotus symbolizes rebirth and strength, and it's what we are seeing in India today. Your country is blossoming into the global economy of the future. I've often said that the world needs more Canada, but I think those words are just as true, that the world needs more India. And the government of India and your policies are helping to make that a reality. And as a valued friend and partner to India, Canada wants to help in this effort. Canada and India are longstanding trading nations. In a way, this is part of our DNA. The seamless exchange of goods, services, and investment between trading partners helps to create prosperity for both our people in our countries. Canada and India have been building from a very strong foundation on this front. Last year, our trade was nearly $21 billion. But Piyush, you and I have talked about this. I know we can do better and we will do better. And Canada's portfolio investment in India is now reached over $70 billion. So our trade is going up, and there's no limit to where that can go. Canada is committed to being a strong and reliable trading partner. Canadians support India's energy security and climate change objectives through raw materials, technology, and investment. Canadian farmers support India's food security needs. Canadian investors help India meet its infrastructure needs. And Canada is a lucrative market for Indian goods and services and a top destination for Indian students. And I would be remiss if I didn't say a special word about the Canadian and Indian female entrepreneurs and business leaders who are breaking ground and growing their businesses in both of our countries. And I also want my CII friends here to know that Canada just doesn't offer outstanding goods and services and expertise. We're also a great place to invest. And in fact, investing in Canada shows Indian companies the ability to grow their competitiveness and gain access to 1.5 billion customers and to more than 60% of the world's economy, including through the broad North American supply chain, thanks to our network of free trade agreements. And it's this kind of practical cooperation based on trust, unique strengths, and in response to shared challenges that is a model of what Canada is looking to achieve as we deepen our partnerships with the Indo-Pacific region, and with India in particular, through our new Indo-Pacific strategy. With expanded trade, investment, and supply chain resilience as one of its 5 core objectives, our Indo-Pacific strategy is our most ambitious and consequential trade game plan for decades and can help Canadian and India achieve our shared goals. My first trip to the Indo-Pacific as Canada's trade minister, when we were all able to travel again, of course, was earlier last year to India. And as many of you know, during that visit, Minister Goyal and I relaunched trade negotiations, starting with the Canada-India Early Progress Trade Agreement, which will lead eventually to a comprehensive economic partnership agreement. I'm pleased to be working with my good friend and colleague on an agreement that is commercially meaningful, that will make trade more seamless and help develop supply chain links between our countries. It will create the right conditions that will enable our most innovative companies to form partnerships in that digital economy that the president of CII was talking about earlier, whether it's clean tech, agri-tech, health tech, really creating those solutions for the future to fight climate change, food insecurity, creating healthier economies among our people. Our goal is to reach a deal that will support Indian and Canadian companies, manufacturers, service providers, farmers, workers, micro, small, and medium-sized businesses. In short, a deal that will benefit everyone. And in closing, let me highlight one more facet of our bilateral relationship, and that's the rich and diverse ties that exist between Canadians and Indians. Canada is nearly home to 1.9 million Canadians of Indian heritage. or as I would like to think of it, 1.9 million bridges to connect our countries. This special connection has been built over generations. It deserves to be acknowledged, and more than that, it deserves to be facilitated, and it's terrific work that we continue to look forward to doing. Business, after all, is built on relations and connectivity between people, like many of my friends who are on the stage there today. And this is the foundation between a Canadian-India relationship, but indeed the relationship between all of my trade ministerial colleagues who are there in India. And with that, merci beaucoup, and have a wonderful summit. And I look forward where I will get a chance to see all of you very, very soon. And I hope it will definitely be in person. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your address and for once again committing to take forward this great relationship between Canada and India. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your participation. May I now turn to His Excellency Limpo Loknath Sharma, the Honorable Minister for Energy and Natural Resources, Industry and Commerce and Employment of the Royal Government of Bhutan.
Excellency Sri Piyush Goyalji, Director General Chandrajit Banerjee, CII, other office bearers of CII, ministers, excellencies, distinguished speakers, scholars and delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Kuzu Zampo and Namaskar. आप सबको होली का मुबारक है और शुभकामनाएं भी. Thank you, Chairman of the Partnership Summit and Confederations of Indian Industry, for extending an invitation to me to attend the Partnership Summit 2023 on the theme, Partnership for Responsible, Accelerated, Innovative, Sustainable and Equitable Businesses. I also have to congratulate and appreciate India's contribution as G20 Presidency. We are proud and honored. Ladies and gentlemen, as the world endeavors to recover and rebound from COVID-19 pandemic-induced disruptions, Partnership Summit 2023 is timely and critical. I'm confident that this global platform of the industries and thought leaders, policymakers, and experts will be able to discuss and innovate, come out with innovative ways towards making our economies responsive, inclusive, sustainable, and resilient. As a small landlocked, import-dependent country, I wish to participate in the discourses at this summit and take home ideas concerning global supply chain disruptions, collaborations and integration of economies, future of work and skilling, financing tools and technology, energy and climate change, etc., among others. The focus of deliberations of the summit on the opportunities and imperatives for countries and businesses to drive future strategies for growth, competitiveness, sustainability, and inclusive growth is expected to help us learn and adopt good practices. Looking at global trade, local trade, and integration for a few decades now, we are proud that it has helped to uplift living standards, quality of life, created jobs, and fed the world population well. However, recent pandemic and geopolitics has caused pain and panic too, in many ways, to developing and small economies like ours. A country like mine look forward getting support and understanding towards diversification of import and export markets, source and raw materials, financing and building domestic productive capacities. Excellencies, enabling Resilience through trade and industry requires a strong financial sector, and our experience has demonstrated financial challenges and resilience through the pandemic as businesses relied on access to funding and support. And in my country's case, there were loan deferrals, interest waivers, income support, and other fiscal and monetary measures. The importance of capital buffers for businesses and fiscal and monetary capacity in public sector was reiterated during the last 2 years, which we are aware. The health and growth of the financial sector are important to support trade and investment and to enable our transition to a low carbon future. Nevertheless, financial capabilities need to be backed with active response capabilities. Low income and small nations are going to face challenges to rebound and rebuild as their fiscal and monetary space is limited that will be heated with inflation, particularly dangerous if it happens among the food basket. All of us must try to contain inflation in the food sector so that decades of good work in mitigating poverty is not undone by few years of pandemic. It might be time to focus on structural transformation for inclusive and sustained growth. We must explore strategies. Bhutan's particular interest is in partnering with the global economy in terms of business-to-business linkages, to mention few: ICT, forestry and agri, energy and minerals, tourism and well-being. Each country's resources and challenges are unique, thus need to customize a bit. Bhutan is facing this challenge as well. The resources of each country differ, and we might have to focus on competitive advantage, the country's location and nearby regional markets and demand. There is a global digital revolution underway, and LDCs, countries like us, LDCs must catch up with the rest of the world by accepting and using emerging technologies in doing businesses. ICT allows LDCs with limited production capacity to be drivers or suppliers in a global economy and not mere consumers. As we know, landlocked countries must use ICT and avoid being digitally locked. We were geographically locked, let's not be digitally locked. Finally, this partnership summit by Government of India is a welcome move and shows genuine interest to move into future that is responsible, innovative, sustainable, and equitable. Trading terms must be designed through architect that works well for bigger and richer, as well as small and poorer nations as their situations differ. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm truly blessed. Once again, thank you CII and the Summit Chair, Sri Piyush Goyal, Minister of Commerce and Industry, Textiles, Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Government of India. As a witness, as a minister from Bhutan, I would pray, let India grow and grow. Bhutan will always benefit, and we are always there as a partner for you. Thank you. Tashidele, Suratri, Dhanyabad. Fir kaal milenge.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. That was straight from the heart, and thanks very much for raising many important issues during the course of your address. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure now to invite and request the Minister for Foreign Trade and Foreign Investment of the Republic of Cuba, His Excellency, Mr. Rodrigo Diaz.
Excellency Piyush Goyal, Minister of Commerce and Industry, Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution and Textiles of India. Distinguished Mr. Sanjit Bajak, President of the Confederation of Indian Industry. Distinguished ministers, delegates, and guests. I express my appreciation for the invitation to participate in this Partnership Summit 2023, and together with high representatives of several countries, I feel very, very happy to be here with you. But to begin, I would like to celebrate the friendship that Cuba and India have maintained for 63 years. Two nations which, despite their diversity, have maintained unity by sharing common positions on the multilateral agenda. Please, I understand there is translation available, so allow me to continue in Spanish. Thank you. Para mí constituye un honor comentarles cuáles son los puntos de vista de Cuba sobre el futuro del multilateralismo y sus expectativas sobre la acción de las asociaciones que en medio de la diversidad institucional se proponen alcanzar objetivos integradores que tributen a una mejor sociedad global donde cada actor, público o privado, en su interrelación con otros, juegue el mejor de los roles posibles para la sociedad. El futuro depende de lo que hagas hoy. Estoy citando una frase de Mahatma Gandhi que ilustra el espíritu de la presente cumbre, que por su gran representatividad tiene el potencial para hacer un paso relevante en medio de las diversas crisis por las que atraviesa la humanidad. Hacia la creación de alianzas y mecanismos basados en la verdad y la confianza, hacia la mitigación de la inequidad y el aumento de la inclusión, teniendo siempre en cuenta que el objetivo final de cada alianza y de cada asociación debe ser la preocupación profunda por las personas. Ese es el camino que debemos recorrer. Me complace observar que la organización de esta cumbre refleja el compromiso con tales valores. El actual escenario económico internacional nos posiciona ante las siguientes interrogantes. ¿Cómo contribuir a minimizar la incertidumbre económica que, provocada por los complejos acontecimientos geopolíticos de nuestra era, se suscita en aquellos países más dependientes del comercio internacional y en aquellas poblaciones del mundo más vulnerables económicamente? ¿Cómo recuperar los niveles de sostenibilidad económica afectados por la pandemia de la COVID-19 en disímiles partes del planeta? ¿Cómo hacer que el cambio climático, que se muestra siempre constante y a la par de otras problemáticas económicas globales, deje de ser un catalizador negativo de muchas de ellas con efectos irreversibles? Solo la acción coordinada de las asociaciones, pero sobre todo oportuna, innovadora, aunque encauzada a través de la cooperación y la solidaridad, podrá lograr avances en la respuesta a las preguntas anteriores. Las asociaciones poseen el reto de sacar la mayor ventaja del avance de la globalización, así como del potencial que guarda la diversidad cultural de cada pueblo. En nuestra opinión, emerge como una necesidad de primer orden reforzar las voluntades políticas de las naciones a fin de progresar en los caminos de la integración económica, con el objetivo de que los pueblos puedan lograr sus intereses legítimos de desarrollo para reducir las asimetrías. Las asociaciones deben, entre otros objetivos, enfocarse en una justa integración de las economías al flujo del comercio internacional. Ante las consecuencias negativas del cambio climático, provocadas por conductas indiferentes o negligentes de múltiples actores, impactando de modo negativo en muchas economías, Debemos responder con una acción climática basada en una cooperación aliada del crecimiento económico. En ese sentido, solo el multilateralismo efectivo demostrará ser en el futuro el más sólido pilar de paz. No hay camino hacia la paz, cual dijera Mahatma Gandhi. La paz es el camino. Entonces, el multilateralismo efectivo también debería serlo. Me atrevo a decir que desde la presidencia del Grupo de los 77 más China, Cuba trabajará este año en Naciones Unidas para defender el multilateralismo a toda costa. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Excellency, Mr. Minister, Mr. Rodrigo Dias, for your address. It's my turn now to request the Minister of Trade from the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Dr. Zulfikar Hasan.
My good friend, Minister Pius Goyal, Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry Textile, Customs Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Government of India. Honorable Minister of the Government of India, Excellency, Ministers from Bhutan, Canada, Cuba, Republic of Korea, Mauritius, Singapore, and the United Arab Emirates. Mr. Sanjib Bajaj, the President of CII, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor for me to be here and meet you all on the occasion of the CII Partnership Summit 2023. Let me first congratulate the Confederation of Indian Industry and the Government of India for the successful inaugural. I would like to thank my good friend, Minister Pius Goyal, for his kind invitation, and to Mr. Sanjib Bajaj, the President of CII, for his excellent leadership in organizing this event. Amid our effort to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, we are facing geopolitical conflict that have created global energy and food crisis, inflation, and global economic slowdown. In this regard, strengthening international cooperation is important and relevant to the theme of today's summit, which is Partnership for Responsible, Accelerated, Innovative, Sustainable, and Equitable Businesses. India is an important and strategic partner for Indonesia. Last year, our two-way trade set an all-time record of $32.7 billion, strengthening India's status as Indonesia's major trade partner. This also reflects the great potential of trade between two countries, which thrive amidst the challenges of post-pandemic economic recovery and global economic slowdown. I hope that CII Partnership Summit can be an avenue to encourage business and investment potential between India and Indonesia. Furthermore, Indonesia is the world's fourth most populous country. 2 of 3 population are in the working age, and this demographic bonus will reach its peak in 2040-2050. The foundation of all kind of cooperation is people-to-people connection. It will bridge to place far away. It build deep relationship. But I hope that the people connections go beyond how much India people love Bali and how much Indonesian people love Bollywood movies. Indonesia look up to India in terms of information technology as well as health and pharmaceutical. I'm ready to explore our cooperation further on these areas. Distinguished participants, in closing, I believe that the summit will positively contribute to a strong Indonesia-India relation as envisioned by our founding fathers. I wish you all a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your address. And now I'll once again turn to the screen, and from on that we will have the Honorable Minister for Trade, Republic of Korea, His Excellency Duk Gong Yang.
안녕하십니까. Namaste. I'm Deok-geun, Minister for Trade of the Republic of Korea. His Excellency Piyush Goyal, Minister of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Sanjeev Bajaj, President of Confederation of Indian Industry, and distinguished guests from around the world. It is my pleasure to greet you all through this video. On behalf of the Government of the Republic of Korea, I would like to extend my sincere congratulations on the opening of the 28th CII Partnership Summit 2023. Since its establishment in 1995, the CII Partnership Summit has served as a valuable platform for government officers, business leaders, investors, and opinion leaders from around the world to gather together and discuss their future visions for the economy, as well as forge cooperative partnerships. I believe this year's theme of Partnerships for Responsible, Accelerated, Innovative, Sustainable, and Equitable Businesses at the CII Partnership Summit is very much timely, as it encompasses major global issues at hand. As you are well aware, the global trade environment is faced with growing uncertainty due to the ongoing repercussion of the pandemic, regionalism, and trade dispute, as well as the war in Ukraine, among others. To this end, I believe there is no better time than now to establish a global cooperation system for the world we live in. Indeed, the CII Partnership Summit is of particular importance this year, given the growing expectations over India's leading role in the global discourse, having assumed the G20 Presidency. In this regard, I expect that the 28th CII Partnership Summit 2023 will enable participants to engage in in-depth discussions on a variety of future issues, including global supply chain, finance, G20, climate change, digital transition, innovation, and ESG. Although I was unable to visit New Delhi on this occasion, I'm committed to listening to the insights and opinions of participating experts and high-level officers via different channels. I also firmly believe that India's G20 presidency will pave the way for India to secure a growing presence in the international community and global economy. As the world's largest source of human talent and outstanding engineers, India is playing a prominent role in the IT sectors, including AI and big data. Moreover, a number of Indian entrepreneurs are leading global tech companies as CEOs based on their flexible and exceptional leadership. Furthermore, Indian economy has grown at a rapid and notable pace after Prime Minister Modi embarked upon his various reform initiatives. Most importantly, India has been successful in creating favorable conditions for businesses with its Make in India and Self-Reliant India policies, playing a pivotal role in establishing a stable global supply chain. Against this backdrop, I have every confidence that the Republic of Korea is second to none as an ideal partner of India in its journey to usher in an era of prosperity. Since the establishment of diplomatic relations in 1973, our two countries have forged a 50-year friendship based on our shared values of freedom and democracy, as well as vision for economic cooperation. Korea and India have seen our economic relations continuously expand, with our bilateral trade volume hitting a record high of $20.8 billion last year, and Korea's investment in India reaching almost $10 billion. And last December, the government of Korea announced its new Indo-Pacific strategy. This strategy underscores the significance of cooperation between Korea and India for the future of our two nations. It also reflects the commitment of the Korean government to expand our areas of cooperation into forward-looking, cutting-edge industries such as carbon neutrality, new industries, and new energy. Furthermore, in line with India's effort to promote global cooperation agendas in the G20 during its presidency, including the Global South, Korea is more than willing to help close the gap between the developing and developed country in the G20 when it comes to the forum's agenda of trade, investment, SMEs, and logistics. With that said, I will continue to work with my honorable friend, Minister Goyal, to enhance our economic partnership. As the Indian proverb goes, help your brother's boat across, and your own will reach the shore. In other words, we need to help each other out to achieve our goals. I hope the major global agendas covered in today's CII Partnership Summit will lay a solid groundwork to make our world a healthier and happier place for all. And looking ahead, I hope this summit will contribute much to ensuring India's successful presidency of the G20 summit scheduled for September this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. We know the type of time that zone that you are in, and we really appreciate yours participating, albeit virtually. And we have a strong Korean delegation also present here from the business side. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd now request His Excellency Mr. Sudesh Satkam Kalichuran, the Minister for Labor, Human Resource Development and Training, Minister of Commerce and Consumer Protection from Mauritius, to give his address.
Thank you, Chair. His Excellency Shri Piyush Goyalji, Honorable Ministers from Canada, Bhutan, Cuba, Indonesia, Republic of Korea, Singapore, United Arab Emirates, Excellencies, Director General of CII, President of CII, Chairperson of DP World, distinguished guests, all protocol observed. Good evening. Aap sabhi ko mera pranam. It is with an immense pleasure that on behalf of the government of Mauritius and in my personal name, I am addressing you on the occasion of such a major event as the 28th edition of the Confederation of Indian Industry Partnership Summit. I wish to thank the chair and the co-chair of the summit for extending the invitation to Mauritius to participate on this platform, which comes at a time when India is currently holding the presidency of G20. We are indeed grateful to India for inviting Mauritius as a guest country, and we are actively participating in all the deliberations at the G20. We strongly believe that G20 will enable developing countries to voice out their concerns and enhance South-South cooperation. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in line with the Confederation's main role to work towards the globalization of Indian industry and integration into the world economy, the CII has helped in developing further trade relations between India and Mauritius. The economic relations between India and Mauritius does not limit itself only to the import and export of products. As you are all aware, Mauritius has been amongst the largest contributor of foreign direct investment in India over the recent years. Excellencies, distinguished guests, Africa is set to be the next frontier for investment, especially with the transformation of its natural resources for the greater benefit of its population. With its strategic geopolitical position, Mauritius being part of the SADC and the COMESA, as well as a signatory of the AFCFTA and SECPA with India, has become a focal point for investors to penetrate the African and the Indian Ocean region market. Leveraging on Mauritius' wide network of bilateral and multilateral cooperation agreements in the region will enable many countries to tap into new markets and therefore promote greater cross-border investments. I shall delve into thoroughly on these topics during my speech tomorrow at this session on the role of global business in facilitating Africa economic integration. This summit is an excellent platform to discuss on mutually beneficial avenues for economic recovery in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic and international geopolitical instabilities. The theme chosen for discussion are, in fact, pertinent to the present global, regional, and local context. The COVID-19 pandemic has taught us all too well that exogenous shocks to our economy and our very fabric of life can come in any form and at any time. Developing skills and economic structures that make us resilient in the face of unexpected economic and social crisis cannot be relegated to future generations. The time to act is now. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, traditional job processes are making way to new ones and new ways of working. Skilling and upskilling its workforce has become vital for any country. High caliber courses and programs designed to enhance youth skills in dynamic tech industries across the globe is more than ever essential in order to leverage on technical expertise to promote careers in the ultra-competitive global job market. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the global economic condition is compelling government to review the existing structure of their economy. Moving towards green energy and sustainable development projects is the order of the day. The concept of self-sufficiency and food security has also emerged as a critical issue which has to be addressed urgently. Investment in the agro-industry should be high on the agenda of governments and the business community. Such massive investments in sustainable development and agro-industry will absolutely drive the economic landscape, making countries less dependent on imports, thereby reducing eminence of carbon footprint. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no doubt through this summit, we will all benefit from ideas, experiences, and knowledge which will help us improve our own policies for the benefit of the business community in our respective countries. To conclude, I would like to thank again the Confederation of Indian Industry for providing such a vibrant platform to help build and tighten economic and social partnership, as well as to foster trade deals among participating countries. I thank you for your kind attention. आप सबको मेरा हार्दिक धन्यवाद.
बहुत धन्यवाद, Honorable Minister. Thank you very much for that, for your address and for your participation. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to now present the Minister for Trade and Industry of the Republic of Singapore, His Excellency Mr. Gan Kim Yong.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I would like to thank my friend Minister Piyush Goyal and the Confederation of Indian Industry for inviting me to address you at the summit. First, let me share some good news. I was told India has won 2 Oscars today. Best Song Natu Natu and the Best Short Documentary, Elephant Whisperer. So congratulations to India. Let's work together for the 3rd Oscar, an Oscar on partnership. Indeed, we meet at a time of great political, economic, social, and environmental stress. Our world is facing unprecedented uncertainty and economic headwinds. Many countries, even those that once took for granted that supermarkets will always be full, are now worried about food security. Geopolitical conflict fans mistrust that undermines globalization and the international cooperation needed to tackle common threats such as climate change. How should businesses respond to these circumstances? I think the CII has got the right answer in the theme for this year's Partnership Summit. Partnerships for responsible, accelerated, innovative, sustainable, and equitable businesses. It is the right answer not only in recognizing that businesses must accelerate to become responsible, innovative, sustainable, and equitable, but also right in identifying partnership as the way to achieve these goals. So I would like to encourage all of us to think deeply about partnership, and especially how it can help Indian companies to grow your businesses in Singapore, in Southeast Asia, and beyond. But some of you may ask, India is a giant market. It has the 5th largest GDP in the world and growing rapidly. In 2021, India created 45 unicorns. Air India just bought 470 planes in the biggest order in history. India is also a leader in digital payment space, with transactions amounting to an annualized $1.5 trillion. And the Unified Payments Interface, or the famous UPI, facilitated well over 40% of these transactions. Therefore, you may ask, with such impressive numbers, shouldn't partnership refers to foreign companies seeking partnerships with Indian companies to do business in India? True, and this is already happening in many sectors. Partly encouraged by government policies and incentives, as well as drawn by the sheer size of India's market. So why should you grow or accelerate the growth of your business beyond India to Singapore and the rest of the world? Let me start by sharing with you some figures about ASEAN Economic Community. At $3.3 trillion, the ASEAN economy in 2021 was also the fifth largest in the world collectively, equal to India, and the third largest in Asia, behind China and Japan, and it attracted $175 billion worth of foreign direct investment inflows, making it the third largest FDI recipient in the world after US and China. Out of these $175 billion worth of opportunities, India investors found only $1.9 billion. As India drives towards a $30 billion economy by 2050, my challenge to Indian businesses is to increase your investment in ASEAN by at least tenfold to $20 billion by the end of this decade. In the period from 2020 to 2021, ASEAN's total trade with the world was about $3.3 trillion US dollars. In the same period, merchandise trade between ASEAN and India grew by just 1% to $67 billion US dollars, which is only about 2% of ASEAN's total trade. So may I also invite you to take a moment to just imagine how much more your business could have grown by finding partners to seize the opportunities in ASEAN. My second challenge is therefore for India to also increase the amount of merchandise trade with ASEAN by tenfold by the end of this decade. Your efforts to grow your businesses in ASEAN, whether through trade in goods, services, or investment, will be facilitated by a comprehensive set of trade agreements that are already in place between India and ASEAN and bilaterally with some individual ASEAN members. These agreements create a market of about 2 billion people, 1/4 of the world's population, including an expanding middle class of more than 500 million people. So yes, India is a giant market, but India plus ASEAN is even bigger, double the giant. And your Singaporean and other ASEAN business partners may also help you to grow beyond ASEAN into Australia, Japan, Korea, and even China. The ties between India and Singapore are long-standing and multifaceted. Beyond the extensive and friendly relations between our governments, there are deep and enduring friendships and kinships, shared histories and cultures. Our people are comforted by the familiar when they visit one another and intrigued by the novel. As we say in Singapore, we are same, but different. Same helps us to connect easily at the professional and personal levels. Different enables us to add value to our partnership by complementing each other for mutual benefit, even though India is vast and Singapore tiny. Not surprisingly, there are more than 10,000 Indian companies registered in Singapore, making India the #1 source of foreign companies in Singapore. We are happy that you have found us to be hospitable and a friendly place to do business. In the other direction, Singapore investors have invested almost $137 billion in India over the last 20 years, according to the High Commissioner of India, accounting for nearly 23% of total FDI inflows, including $17.4 billion in 2021 alone. These investments speak well of India's ongoing and successful effort to become more business and investor friendly, while also helping Indian startups and established companies to grow and create good jobs. At the government level, Piyush Ji and I are both members of the India-Singapore Ministerial Roundtable, a platform for Indian and Singaporean leaders to meet and discuss openly with one another about the common challenges posed by the global and regional developments. Equally important, the roundtable has enabled us to identify partnership opportunities that our businesses can work together to develop and grow. And hopefully one day we will win the third Oscar. Some are ongoing, such as our UPI Pay Now partnership to serve the needs of our businesses and people for instant and low-cost fund transfers between India and Singapore. I'm happy that India chose to work with Singapore on its first cross-border real-time system linkage. Other areas, such as in renewable energy and supply chain resilience, are new. We can explore collaborations in these areas and more. In conclusion, I would like to leave you with two messages. One, India is a giant market. India plus ASEAN is twice the giant. And two, India and Singapore are partners across many dimensions, and there are opportunities to further deepen this partnership. The CII Partnership Summit is an excellent occasion to affirm enduring relationships and form new partnerships to explore together the opportunities to not only do business with one another, but to uplift the lives of our peoples through responsible, innovative, sustainable, and equitable practices. This is perhaps the best response business could give to realize the Prime Minister Modi's vision of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or one earth, one family, one future. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Gan Keng Yong, for your wonderful address talking about India, ASEAN and India, Singapore opportunities. With that, ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure and honor once to invite and request the Minister of Economy of the United Arab Emirates, His Excellency Abdullah bin Tawq Al Mari, to give his address.
My dear friend, Minister Piyush Goyal, respectable honorable ministers, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great pleasure to address the CII Partnership Summit today, which I would like to start by thanking the organizers for the kind invitation and hospitality. This is my second visit to New Delhi this year, and a second visit which is almost under 30 days as well. Yet another occasion to celebrate the strong and historic ties between the United Arab Emirates and India, and I'm delighted to see the unbreakable bond between our two countries grow from strength to strength. The long-standing history of economic cooperation between the UAE and India is a major highlight of our relationship. Both our countries strongly believe in fair, non-discriminatory, sustainable, and rule-based trade. The people-to-people ties between the UAE and India are another important aspect of our relationship. The Indian community in the UAE is the largest expatriate community, and they have made a significant contribution to the development of our economy. The UAE is committed to providing a conducive environment for Indian businesses to thrive, and we are taking several measures to enhance the business climate, including providing incentives for foreign direct investment and streamlining the regulatory environment and investing in a world-class infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, our gathering today comes at a crucial moment for both our countries and for the world. Numerous global challenges have occurred over the last few years. Some are caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, and others are geopolitical factors. The world economy is confronted with significant risks for its overall economic prospects and commodity prices volatility, inflationary pressures, monetary policy uncertainty, and further supply chain disruption, slowing down economic activities. But the biggest risk of all is a geoeconomic fragmentation, a policy-driven reversal of global economic integration. The economic costs of fragmentation are likely to be significant. The deeper the trade fragmentation, the larger economic costs. Transition costs could be large as more effort would be needed to reconfigure supply chains and trade links. Technological decoupling would significantly amplify losses from trade restrictions. A fragmented global payment system or a smaller parallel system would lead to higher transaction costs and other efficiency loss. And the provision of vital global public goods, such as the action on climate change, pandemic preparedness, and debt resolution, would be a great risk. The IMF estimates the cost of global output from trade fragmentation to be somewhere between 0.2% and as high as 7% of global GDP. The UAE response to the fragmentation trends have been at play for several years. They have only been amplified by the pandemic and the recent geopolitical tension. So what's the UAE been doing about all of this? In a geopolitical and economic environment that is highly uncertain, we have been working to establish a new sustainable and inclusive economic model in the last few years, and we have adopted policies to boost adaptability, increase resilience, and support the energy and digital transition of our society. We enacted the commercial company law to allow 100% ownership to most sectors on mainland. We understood that to attract investment, we need to have qualified pool of workers and talent, so we modernized residency rules and reduced restrictions to labor mobility to make it easier to attract, train, and retain highly educated talent from all over the world. The results, ladies and gentlemen, we are astounding. The overall GDP growth registered 7.6%, thanks to a pace driven by a rise of oil production as well as significant improvement in the non-oil sector. Non-oil GDP grew 6.1%, reflecting strong performance in sectors such as tourism, hospitality, real estate, transport, and manufacturing. Facing the aforementioned risks and multilateralism is now more important than ever to tackle the common challenges we are all facing. But when multilateral options are not ready, we need to come together and reimagine the future, be it in bilateral or many-lateral settings. The theme of our esteemed conference is Partnerships for Responsible, Accelerated, Innovative, Sustainable, and Equitable Businesses. And guess what? That's exactly what the UAE and India have done, an innovative partnership. A year ago, the UAE has taken a strategic step further towards consolidating status with India. In February last year, my friend Piyush Goyal and I met here in Delhi and signed a historic comprehensive economic partnership agreement. The UAE and India CIPA had many firsts to its record. It was the first part of our bold new foreign policy trade, designed to re-engineer our economy for the next 50 years, solidifying its position as a global economic hub. It was our economy first bilateral trade agreement, and it was the first trade agreement to be signed in India with a country in the Arab world, and it was sealed in a record short time span of 88 days. The CIPA created a zone between the UAE and India with the aim of boosting trade, investment, and economic growth and creating opportunity for businesses in both countries. The UAE and India CIPA is already creating a significant positive impact on bilateral trade. We initially set targets to increase bilateral trade and merchandise trade to $100 billion in 5 years, which is about twice the pre-pandemic levels, and service trade to at least $15 billion. We thought that was ambitious, but the targets now seem modest, and we are confident in our ability to hit them sooner than 2026. In the 8 months following the ratification, bilateral trade has increased 30%, and we are now on track to meet the targets. Non-oil bilateral trade alone surpassed $49 billion for the full year, increasing by 10% compared to 2021, and food, products, jewelry, and metals were the sectors that witnessed the highest expansion. India export to the UAE increased to 26% over the last 12 months, and re-exports grew more than 10%, underlining the UAE importance to our companies as a global trading hub and a gateway to the Middle East, Africa, and Europe. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to reiterate the UAE is not an advocate of fragmentation. Quite the opposite. The UAE is an active member of the international financial system and benefits from an open trade and investment. Global issues require global solutions. They cannot be resolved by a single nation or even a small group of nations, and they require significant concrete actions. The UAE is dedicated in collaborating with our international partners bilaterally and multilaterally in order to tackle the world problems today and build a more sustainable and prosperous future for all. Our partnership with India is a case and a point of such a commitment. It is exceptionally impressive the significant increase in trade I just mentioned between our two countries in both directions came in the context of global macroeconomic headwinds and fragmentation trends. This makes me more confident that the relationship between our countries will continue to flourish in the years to come, and both countries will reap the benefits of the strong partnership. As the Minister of Economy of the UAE, I'm committed in continuing to foster the relationship and strengthening the ties between our people and our businesses. Once again, I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation and the hospitality, and I wish you a fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your address and for your friendship towards India. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure now and honor to invite and request the Chairman of the Partnership Summit, the Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry and Textiles and the Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution of the Government of India, to give his keynote address, Mr. Piyush Goyal.
Thank you very much, Chandrajit. Excellencies, friends from across continents, President of CII, Mr. Sanjeev Bajaj, my good friend, Chairman of DP World, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulaim, all the captains of industry who have assembled here from across the world for this very important Partnership Summit 2023. Heads of mission from different countries who have joined us, friends from the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, today is a very special day for India. While we are at the inaugural of the Partnership Summit 2023, and truly a phenomenal inauguration. I don't think I've seen such a program in a long time at the Taj Palace. Such a distinguished gathering of world leaders on stage through video conferencing. So many delegations from across the world. Truly testimony to CII's and Chandrajit, your personal goodwill across the world. I say we are a proud nation today, having won 2 Oscars for the first time ever. The first, of course, was the news of the Elephant Whisperers, which highlights sustainable development and harmony with nature. But the good part is, it also gives us a sense of women empowerment in India, with both the director and producer. Director and producer are both women of eminence. But we have another woman amongst us here today, Shobna Khomeini. Shobna is the proud mother-in-law of Natu's actor, Mr. Ramcharan Upasana. And my compliments to the entire cast of Natu for being selected the best original song. The entire RRR cast, whether it's her son-in-law Ramcharan, whether it's the screenwriter Mr. V.V. Prasad, who's now a member of the Rajya Sabha with me, nominated by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, Junior NTR, Raja Mauli, the entire team deserves the highest accolades. And may I suggest we play a small clip of the song?
పొలం గట్టు దుమ్ములోన పోట్ల గిత్త దూకినట్టు పొలేరమ్మ జాతరలో పోతరాజు ఊగినట్టు కిర్రు చెప్పులేసుకొని కర్ర సాము చేసినట్టు మర్రి సొట్టు నీడలోన కుర్ర గుంపు కూడినట్టు ఎర్ర జొన్న రొట్టెలోన మిరప తొక్కు కలిపినట్టు నా పాట చూడు నా పాట చూడు నా పాట చూడు నాటు 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 వీర నాటు 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 ఊర నాటు 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 నాటు
I think they deserve a standing ovation. Let's give them a standing ovation. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's the common thread between all of us present here today. And I was just looking around the stage, and with each of my colleagues here, I feel a personal connect, whether as an individual or as an Indian. We have two of our distinguished members of the ASEAN grouping with whom we had developed a free trading agreement many, many years ago. We have Singapore and Indonesia here, and we had Korea, with whom also we had executed one of our earlier free trade agreements on the screen. We have the UAE, with whom we recently concluded the world's fastest negotiated free trade agreement and comprehensive economic partnership. 88 days, start to finish. And His Excellency, my good friend and brother Abdullah, was here to execute it with me in May of 2022. And truly, it was in February of 2022. And the fastest ever coming into effect happened with that agreement on 1st of May. It came into effect within 2 months of signing. And I have with us here Mr. Kalicharan, Excellency Minister Kalicharan, with whom I had the privilege to do my first comprehensive economic partnership. The first that I did as Commerce Minister a year and a half ago. We have with us Mr. Loknath Sharma, a very, very valued neighbor, somebody with whom I have a very deep personal connect for several years, and who represents probably the only country, or the country which is the symbol of happiness when he comes from Bhutan over here. I had the privilege to share notes with His Excellency, the Minister from Cuba, only yesterday. And we discussed at length the long relations that we have had between Cuba and India. I think many of us, a little older generation, will remember pictures of their leader and our earlier prime ministers together, reflecting the deep spirit of cooperation and friendship between our two countries. And with Canada, Mary Angie was in England or in London. It's very appropriate because we are negotiating comprehensive economic arrangements and partnerships with both Canada and the United Kingdom, where she is right now. So lots of action all across the world, but the common thread in all of this is trust, friendship, and partnership. And I think that is what we have all assembled here today to celebrate our friendship, to celebrate our togetherness, to celebrate the trust and the connect that we feel with each one of you, and leading in the future, I think, to greater economic partnerships, greater geopolitical relationships, and certainly earning the trust of our businesses, our people, is uppermost in our mind when we work with all our friendly countries. It's a very appropriate time to have this partnership summit. We have the G20 Presidency this year. The G20 Presidency is focusing on 5 themes which Chandrajit articulated. The concept of race, which has been taken up as the theme of the Partnership Summit. And clearly, this is the time to leverage friendships and partnerships to solve the many, many problems that the world is facing today. These are tough times, undoubtedly. The world had barely come out of COVID when we were confronted with a conflict which took economies down, which raised inflation and consequently interest rates, which brought deep recession in many parts of the world. And in these tough times, I think a meeting like this helps us all to see how we can get the best for each one of us and for our people through collective solutions to global challenges and global problems. Therefore, the 10 tracks that have been taken up for discussion at this summit are also very deeply aligned with our Business 20 agenda. I will talk about the 10 tracks in a moment, but clearly, in this fractured world where global value chains are disrupted, we are all looking for friends, friendshoring, nearshoring. We are all looking to find outcomes to the various challenges that each of our country or region is facing. And we are looking for resilient, distributed, and stable sources of growth, supply chains. We are seeking greater market access with minimizing the exposure to risk that many of our economies are facing. As the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi said, and I quote, "It is only partnerships that will get us to our goals." Partnerships between citizens, communities, and countries. It is the 3 C's, citizens, communities, and countries, when working together in the spirit of cooperation, collaboration, and sometimes competition. When the 3 C's meet these 3 C's, I think collectively we can look at a more stable and a more prosperous future for the people of all our countries. Friends, if you look at India's partnerships, the 5 themes: responsible. We were a responsible global citizen when we developed the COVID vaccines, not only for our own citizens, who were administered 2.2 billion vaccines free of charge, all made in India, indigenous vaccines. But we also provided vaccines to the less developed countries, to the Pacific Island nations, to Caribbean nations, to small island states, to our neighbors. Over 250 million vaccines were provided, most of them free of charge, to other parts of the world. When we talk of accelerated partnerships, look at how we worked with UAE. I just spoke about the 88-day FTA, or the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. With Australia, it was a similar story. While we launched in September of 2021, we lost the first quarter, 3-4 months, due to COVID there and then COVID here, Christmas, New Year. Effectively, we launched the Australia negotiation on 4th of January via video conferencing. And we executed that agreement on 2nd April. With February thrown in, that's probably faster from start to finish with 85 days. That's accelerated relationship building that I would urge other countries and other economies to follow, and that I would urge businesses from all the various partner countries to look at the speed of action, because that is the need of the hour. Innovative. We just executed a very robust agreement with the United States of America to work together on the semiconductor ecosystem. This is the day and age of innovation. All of us will have to look at innovative ideas, new ways of doing our work more efficiently, more effectively. Our startup ecosystem reflects that innovative spirit. A country which barely had 3 or 4 unicorns 7 years ago, today has over 100 unicorns. And India's startup ecosystem today is the 3rd largest in the world. And we hope to grow significantly in the years to come. Similarly, sustainability has been at the core of the G20 agenda for several years now, the core of all multilateral and bilateral engagements over the last few years. But for us in India, sustainability is a way of life. It's not something that we need to be taught or to learn from other parts of the world. Sustainability in India may go back thousands of years. In fact, for most Indians, we respect and often even pray even to the mountains and rivers, to the biodiversity, to trees, to animals. We hold every element of nature in high reverence. And therefore, when Vice President Al Gore came out with his now famous book, The Inconvenient Truth, about 15 or 20 years ago, soon thereafter, Prime Minister Modi came out with his own response, Convenient Action. And that is the way India treats this subject. We believe in action. We believe in outcomes. In Paris, Prime Minister Modi played the leadership role of bringing the developed world and the developing countries together on one platform. And I don't think without his leadership, Paris at the COP21 would have seen such robust outcomes. And I remember Prime Minister Modi also launched the International Solar Alliance at Paris during that visit. Also, India set very ambitious goals during COP21, one amongst which was to be 40% of our installed capacity as renewable energy. I'm happy to share with you, friends, that by 2021, 9 years ahead of schedule, 9 years before 2030, India has already exceeded 40% of our installed capacity being clean energy. Of course, we did not know when we were moving at a fast pace to achieve that there's, when you cross one mountain, you only find that there are many more mountains to cross ahead. Prime Minister Modi has already changed the target for 2030 from 175 gigawatt, which is already achieved, to 500 gigawatt by 2030. When we talk of equitable, I think we are all aligned in our effort to see inclusive growth. At the World Trade Organization's 12th ministerial earlier or middle of last year, I think the collective theme was that we need to see inclusive growth. We need to be more inclusive in our thinking, in our actions, in our agreements. And therefore, I think an equitable world is what India aims for when we bring in the concept of race as our theme for the G20. It is imperative our partnerships are future ready. It is important that we build resilience in our economies. We enforce sustainability, yet respect and focus on inclusivity. Our green goals are very ambitious. The Panch Amrit that Prime Minister Modi had articulated in Glasgow at COP26 reflected India's commitment to a sustainable future, to be a responsible global citizen in the collective fight to address the challenge of climate change. Prime Minister Modi introduced the concept of life, that is sustainable lifestyles, which is the need of the hour, because the waste that we are all generating across the world, more particularly in the developed world, is a larger cause of this big problem of climate change than the needs of humanity. After all, India has only contributed about 2.25% of the problem that we see up there in the ozone layer, despite supporting 16% of the world population. We are not the reason for the problem in the first place, because Indians grew up respecting an efficient and sustainable use of the resources at our command. The other day, I was sharing with some friends on a public platform that in our young days, if we ever left our room without switching off the light or the fan, I don't think many of us had air conditioners at that time. And if our mother ever saw that, I think we would get a spank straight away. It's another matter that nowadays I think you can't spank any children anymore. But I don't regret that. I think she taught me the lessons of life that I think we need to pass on to our children without spanking them though. But I assure you, our children respect and understand nature better than our generation did. And as Mahatma Gandhi had said, we in this generation are all trustees and have inherited the earth as custodians for our children. And it's incumbent on all of us to leave behind a better world than the one we inherited, so that our children get a better future. And therefore, we in India are committed to our sustainable goals. We in India are committed to sustainable lifestyle. We are committed to the circular economy. We are committed to eliminating waste or reuse and recycling our waste. And I invite all our partner countries to work with India, to learn from India, to partner India in this effort to make the world a better place to live in. In fact, only a couple of days back, the former United Nations Environment Head, Eric Solheim, said, and I quote, "The West has a lot to learn from Modi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, on economic and green policies." Friends, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, India has embarked on a massive reform journey, a journey of transformation that will completely change the future of India. We are already the 5th largest economy in the world. We were 10th largest barely a decade ago, aspiring to become the 3rd largest in the next maybe 4 or 5 years. We are entering into international agreements with several countries to enable our businesses, as we will enable businesses around the world to engage deeply with each other so that we can become a larger player on the international global economic front. And I'm happy to share with you that this effort has been led by Prime Minister Modi literally from the front line. I remember for a long period, our exports of goods and services were hovering around $500 billion a year. 2 years ago, if I remember correctly, the 2021, our exports of goods and services collectively were $500 billion. Prime Minister Modi decided that India will convert the crisis of COVID into an opportunity. We will not be deterred by the crisis. We will not be shying away from the challenges before the nation. He talked to all the export promotion councils in the country, heard them, understood the challenges they were facing, and there were many at that point of time. He interacted with over 180 heads of mission across the world. Over 180 heads of mission interacted with Prime Minister Modi, and he tasked them with 3 T's. He said, you will all be expected to, and your performance will be calibrated, will be judged, or as my good friend Abdullah was just sharing, your KPIs will be trade, technology, and tourism. And I must compliment both our mission heads and all the exporters of goods and services from India who expanded the engagement, our international trade, our exports rapidly, so that last year we grew from 500 billion to 676 billion, a massive jump, an all-time record for India. And we are inching close in this 75th year of independence as we celebrate Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, that's 75 years of an independent India. 2022-23, current year, which will end on 31st March. In our 75th year, India is marching ahead to cross $750 billion of exports of goods and services. India today offers many competitive and comparative advantages over other competing economies. We are focusing both on high quality of goods as well as leveraging economies of scale, particularly given the large domestic market that we offer to businesses and investors who come and work in India, and to our friends in their economic engagement with India. In fact, Sultan Bhai is setting up large facilities in Jammu Kashmir, where he is picking up significant investments, reflecting the emergence of peace and stability in Jammu Kashmir. Our businesses are moving fast towards adopting AI, IoT, good manufacturing practices, and modern ways of doing business. 5G is being rolled out at a rapid pace. Since 1st October, expected to be across the country in another year or so. Our MSMEs are fast engaging with digitalization, and as was mentioned earlier, India is offering its digital prowess in the form of public goods, digital public goods for the use of the rest of the world. Singapore and India have recently partnered on UPI, and we hope to do the same with UAE in the near future. We are expanding rupee trade with several countries, many of which are at an advanced stage of dialogue and finalization. Friends, the 10 tracks that have been proposed by CII for this partnership summit give us a lot of food for thought. And if I may venture to make 10 recommendations on those 10 tracks. When we talk of building inclusive and resilient global value chains, we must all collectively address the challenges of tariffs and non-tariff barriers. There are so many non-tariff barriers, and as countries create these non-tariff barriers, others are tempted to follow suit. And as Mahatma Gandhi had said, an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. It will be imperative that nations look at addressing non-tariff barriers in a mission mode. Number two, when we talk of financing global economic recovery, I think a strong and responsive international institutional framework is called for, and within which we need to also reform several multilateral organizations and trading arrangements that have over the years led some non-transparent economies whose economic systems are totally opaque to enjoy the fruits of multilateral engagement. I think it's time the world called out such countries and made them accountable and transparent. Number three, at the G20 platform, India has offered Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family as our theme. One earth, one family, one future. And that's truly what the world needs today. More friendships, more partnerships, working together for collective global good. Number four, when we talk of emerging technologies, it's important that we do a world skill mapping. And on the one hand, we'll find certain nations with tremendous skills. We can match that with the skill deficit, yet rich countries which need those skills. And that matchmaking is what partnerships are all about. Singapore and India are making a serious effort to do that matchmaking. UAE and India have been doing that for several decades now. Mauritius and India have been doing that for centuries now. And it's possible. And I invite other countries so that workforce scarce countries can enjoy the fruits of matching skill-rich countries like India, and both will stand to benefit. With Australia, we are working on such mobility and migration partnerships. Fifth, on energy, climate change, and resource efficiency, we all have to collectively look for ways to fund the low-income countries, and the developing nations to help everybody address the climate change challenge. The polluter pay principle was accepted by all in Paris. In fact, there's a 15-year-old commitment that the developed world, which has enjoyed low-cost energy, which has caused most of the problem, over 50% of the problem, the pollution, the depletion of the ozone layer, the challenge of climate change comes from the developed world, despite they are supporting probably less than 15-17% of the world population. It was collectively agreed that trillions of dollars will be required to make the world a safer place to live in. Low-cost, long-tenor, grant-based funding and technology is the need of the hour. And I call upon the developed nations to provide the promised resources to enable the world to adopt clean energy goals, net zero goals faster. Number 6, when we talk of financial inclusion, we believe we must see greater participation of our MSMEs, our women entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs from the less developed countries, and it is incumbent on all of us to support these sections of society and these countries to play a greater role and help them in their growth and development. Number 8, when we talk of technology and innovation, I think collaboration is the way forward. Joint research amongst countries who have the skill set and countries who have the spirit of inquiry, the inquisitiveness, the innovative spirit, can work together to find solutions to the challenges before the world. Number 9, we need to promote flexible ESG frameworks. An ESG framework cannot have a one-size-fits-all structure. It'll have to be dependent on economies, population, levels of development, and we need to come together and impress upon the developed world that ESG frameworks will have to be tailor-made and more flexible so that they can take care of the marginalized sections of society and the world and give them a chance to grow and improve lifestyles in their countries. Finally, the African economic integration calls for greater trade and greater development initiatives in the African continent. And I think we are all collectively committed to the development of the African nations and greater prosperity for the people of Africa. Friends, effectively, great partnerships are all about 5 T's: trust, talent, trade, technology, and tradition. In these 10 elements, you will find the 5 T's are reflected in abundance. I am confident this partnership summit will help in building new bridges to foster balanced and equitable global growth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman of the Partnership Summit. Thank you, Honorable Minister Shri Goyal. Thanks for a great start with your multi-dimensional inputs and thoughts, which will, I'm sure, define the discussions over the next 2 days. Thanks for defining race so very effectively and giving us your inputs on the 10 tracks plus the 5 Ts. One can go on, but thank you very much for giving us this track. We know your diary will be extremely chaotic tomorrow and day after, with many of the people present in this hall who would be actually meeting you on a one-to-one. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thanks to the ministers from UAE, Minister from Singapore, Minister from Mauritius, Minister from Korea who was on the screen, Minister from Indonesia, Minister from Cuba, Minister from Bhutan, Minister from Canada who was also with us from the UK, and of course both Mr. Sanjeev Bajaj, the chairman of the co-chairman of the Partnership Summit and president of CII, and of course the chairman of the DP World, plus many ministers who will be participating tomorrow and day after, all the excellencies, very distinguished delegates from India and overseas. Thank you very much for participating in this inaugural session. Ladies and gentlemen, before I request you to join the dinner which will be hosted by the Honorable Minister and the Chairman of the Partnership Summit, I'll request our Honorable Minister to give a very unique gift to each one of our participants, which comes from the districts of India. May I request our Honorable Minister to give away the gifts.
These are very special gifts which have been procured and sourced from various districts from various states of India, handpicked and selected to encourage artisans and preserve the Indian heritage. We have our minister handing over these gifts to all our guest ministers today. Token of affection and appreciation for your being here with us. And I'd like to ask DG CII to hand over one gift to our very own minister. Ladies and gentlemen, can we hear it for them all one last time before we close the session today? And dinners in Raja Bagh and Rani Bagh. All of you, please leave behind your SI systems that were handed over to you. Those who took it against their ID cards can return it outside. But for the others, you can leave it on your seats right here. Thank you.